Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. It's been a very long time. I think it's been a few weeks since I did a video. I recently watched Candyman. Now before we get into it, my name is Nana. If you've not been to this channel before, welcome. Thank you to all my new subscribers. On the channel I talk about movies, review movies, TV shows. There are a few that are coming up soon. But today I want to talk about Candyman. Please, maybe spoilers. So if you've not seen it, stop, go and watch it before you watch the spoilers, unless you don't mind. So this movie came out just over a week ago in the UK. And I remember watching the old one, the 1992 one, maybe about 15 years ago, and was actually petrified going up the stairs back to my room, just reciting Candyman. I don't remember much of it other than it was very, very creepy. But going to the cinema, before I went, I just went online and saw what the reviews were, and it was quite good. I think Rotten Tomatoes gave it about 85%, and IMDb gave it about 8, I think it was, 8 out of 10. I guess this is almost like an addition. It added to the old one. It didn't take away from it or distract from it. It added to it. So I recently, I think today, I watched the backdrop of what actually was going on back in the late 70s into the 80s in Chicago. So that's where this movie was set. If you've not seen the original one, this was set in the Chicago projects, and from what I gather, the apartment had leeway in the back of the kitchens, or the kitchen sinks, or the sinks in the house, that allowed plumbers and repairmen to come in and fit things. But that meant that intruders who knew they were in could also come in. And this is set in an era where there was this young serial killer who was luring young boys with sweets, alcohol and drugs and killing them. And the old one was told from a white person's perspective, so it was a young white lady. This new one was told from black people's perspective, and it did touch on a lot of gentrification problems, which we've seen. I mean, I've seen a lot of in New York. I mean, Harlem in particular. I've seen a lot of videos about that in Harlem. But this delved in a bit better, in my opinion. They talked about how the projects are now, token for white people, where they are moving them out, giving them cheap, remunerations for the property, and then renovating it and selling it at high stakes to the white population. So we start off, first of all, I love the pigmentation of the cast. Like sometimes when you have a movie with so many different skin tones, mainly white, having a few black people in, the camera lighting is a little off sometimes, but this one, white, black, the coloring gradient was so poignant. So actors that I've been seeing their work around, Yaya, I've been watching him a few things. Coleman, I've seen him in a few things, and the lady whose name I've forgotten, Tayona, is the lady. So we start off with this struggling artist. They always have this beanies on that has been rolled up, sign of a struggling artist. We start off with him and his wife and his wife's brother, and this guy is struggling because he's not getting a lot of publicity for his art, and he needs to dig in. Like, he needs to find something that will get the critics talking, that will get the money flowing, that will get his work out there. Mind you, this guy is married to an accomplished lady whose family want her to be with a similar person, someone with from a renowned background, doing well for himself. And the family members, the lady's family, where every chance they got were digging at this guy. So this guy had to find something, And at that time, he's now living in a gentrified Chicago. So it's now been made into an upscale area, and he has a home there with his wife. So he picked his camera, wanted to do some investigations about Chicago's dark past with Candyman. And while he was investigating with his camera, he got bitten by a bee. And that's where we start off. When I work for the NHS, and I've seen enough skin ulcers and such, but to have it on a full screen, oh, that's gross. Gross. And I like the fact that it took time to really become necrotic. Almost by the end, half of his body had become necrotic, and it looked like a honeycomb, like the bees had eaten into it. And what baffled me was how long it took the wife to catch on, and how long it took for him to go to the hospital as a child. Yikes, that's how you guys be dying, because you're not going to the doctors quick enough. So this guy got bitten. He, as part of the investigation, came across this guy, another person, as in Coleman, played by Coleman. The performance that Coleman and Yaya gave, they need to be given Oscars for this role. They gave their all. So Coleman's character was working in a laundrette. Initially it came off as someone who had some information, and then later on we find out he was actually a Candyman. And he lured Yaya's character, who's the main character's name, I've forgotten. Lured him in and showed him this sweet, and apparently there's a sweet that has a blade in it. This is very odd. Like, why would you give that to children? For the life of me, I have no idea. And the myth is that if you say Candyman 5 times in front of a mirror, he will appear. And during his exhibition, he had a mirror, and inside it he had his painting, very gruesome painting, and it had written in there Candyman 5 times. Now, on the day of exhibition, people could really care less, but the next day, the exhibition owners went and enacted this sadistic Candyman, and he came and killed the owner and his girlfriend. I think it was his girlfriend at the time. And that began the series of deaths that will come along with anyone who screamed Candyman 5 times. Even in his own home, he was saying that his wife was like, nah, it's not going to happen. And it turns out that this guy had appeared. Now we get a backdrop of the folk story or the myth about Candyman. Then we get into, the black experience of how the media or society had portrayed black people. And in this instance, the story was that this guy who they thought had killed someone back in the day had his hand cut off. Then they inserted this hook, and then they poured honey on it, which attracted the bees, and the bees ate the hand into this guy, and that's how he became Candyman. There was another side of the story where this lady who was doing some research took a baby and almost like served the gods with this baby. That is the myth, right? Served the gods with this baby, and the baby apparently died because the parent went and reported, and the lady, I think, was arrested or was murdered for it. I can't remember. But then when the story is retold, it turns out that this lady was actually saving the baby from the fires. So how, as years goes on, stories get mixed up and people add different things in. It's quite interesting. And it turns out that this baby was the main character. So he's now all grown up. And it's like something in him yearned to connect with Candyman, and came full circle. And his mother, who had lied to him as a child, now told him the truth about what happened. Now, Vanessa was in the very first movie, and she played the mother in this one, and she has not aged a day. Like, black don't crack. In terms of the depth of story. I think there were some things that drag on a little bit. I have seen a review, someone mentioned that as well. But there were some things that dragged on a little bit. Like when the main character was stabbing the Candyman in his house. I'm like, surely he's dead. How many more stabbings can you do to this guy? Surely he's dead. Something dragged on a little bit. I really like the lighting, as I said. I like the story about gentrification and the black experience and how stories retold can add or take away from the truth. So there is a story being told now. There's what happened and the truth. And it did a very good job at mirroring these three. And it also talked about family and friends and police brutality. I think there's one scene where the police were called and about 10 of them came. Oh, when the boy was younger, so the laundrette guy, when he was younger, that was his first encounter with Candyman. And when he screamed, I could see about 10 policemen. I was like, really? You need that much for one black boy? And in the very end, you have police brutality displayed again, where the wife was being harassed by the police who were trying to arrest the main character. Obviously, it wasn't him, but the picture looked like he was the one who committed this act. And when they brought the wife to the car, they were trying to tell her, like, we can rewrite the way, the narrative the way we want it, which what they all do. And the lady was like, no worries, there are enough mirrors here. I'm just going to say Candyman, Candyman, Candyman 5 times. And the husband came and literally murdered the police team. And the police were literally begging the lady in the car. And I thought, this is a movie, right? But in real life, we see videos all the time of people's stories being twisted and turned to benefit. I mean, you must have heard today about the young black men who were accused and actually executed for raping a white woman 70 years later, that the story was not true. And this is not the first, and this is not the last. Hello and welcome back. This is about my 4th attempt to try and conclude this review. So, as I was saying, I really liked the cinematography, the lighting, the pigmentation. I like the, what's it called? When the artists put the, let me just call it the artistry. Okay. So sometimes you can see the pigmentation, when they try and make things real, the pigmentation of the actor and the color or what they're trying to depict sometimes doesn't match. The makeup is a little off. But the detail of the honeycomb on the guy to his half was just mesmerizing on a huge screen. It was really nicely done. Nia Da Costa did a great job. I'm not sure I've seen any other movie of hers. Of course, you can't go wrong with having Jordan Peele on board. But I will give this a solid 8. I think it's worth watching it on a full screen. As someone who loves horror, I found it not too scary, suspenseful, and intriguing will be the words I will use. Scary on a scale of 0 to 10. Also, the first one was definitely a 10 out of 10. This one sits about 7.5, maybe 8, if that. Obviously, it's gory, little blood everywhere, and the anticipation of it. If you've never seen any Candyman, this will be like a shocker to the system. Definitely watch the first one and then watch this one. I'm actually going to go back and watch the first one. Other than that, it was a great movie. good for cinema. Watch with friends and families. If you're someone who's petrified of blood and gore, please, it's not for you. I am going to do another review on Clickbait and Hit and Run. I'm just about finishing watching Hit and Run. I will do my next video on Clickbait, so be on the lookout. As always, thank you for commenting, subscribing, liking, do share, get the conversation going. Let me know your thoughts on this movie, and let's show some love. It's a great cast and really good addition to the old movie. Maybe there is a lot more to explore, but time will tell whether they will go in again or just leave it to be a standalone movie. But yeah, thank you, and we'll see you on the next one. Bye.